Okay.
Well, but we had
Unless you're
asked.
talking about baseball or...
No, why didn't you ask Darren Dopp and Richard Baum to testify under oath?
You know, this may be surprising to you, Ken, but I was not involved in that process. I was until Thursday of last week, and I've said this to a fair number of you, until Thursday of last week when we were negotiating the congestion pricing bill that I hope is going to be voted affirmatively this afternoon, and a campaign finance bill, completely consumed with those issues. Thursday, late in the day, got a briefing on where things were, and was not involved in that ongoing discussion or cooperation with the Attorney General's office. That was simply not my domain. I have counsel's office that did that, and I found things out later on about process and all the rest, and that's why it was not then my responsibility to handle that, nor do I believe that it rightly should have been. That's the role of
Do you
counsel.
think they should have?
I'm not going to speculate. You know what? The Attorney General, and I've said this before, and I'm up to a certain point happy to keep repeating it. The Attorney General received the information it believed necessary, sufficient to totally close that investigation, resolve without ambiguity, any ambiguity, both with respect to Joe Bruno's behavior and with respect to the allegations of surveillance, etc., that there was no impropriety, no illegality. And I have embraced the findings of that report to the extent that they suggested that there were lapses in judgment that I have dealt with great severity, with alacrity, which was the right thing to do. And I believe as the CEO of the state, as the executive, I appeared before all of you Monday morning and said, even though I described what my involvement was not, I said, I take responsibility. But this is now an issue that has been dealt with, and I think now I've answered these questions to a great extent, and I know that Mr. Baum has been talking to you individually, continues to do so even this afternoon, so that he is available for the questions, so that everybody knows that there is no effort to do anything other than be.
Do you think he can work effectively?
Good. How about that? In that case, I better get somebody who knows what they are up here. I actually, before you ask, I actually saw a stem cell. I was at a lab, not here, it was across the river at RPI a few months ago with Dr. Jackson, who's the president of RPI, in a stem cell lab, because I wanted to actually know more about it. And I looked through a telescope and I actually saw one. So they do exist. I'm here to say, I can verify that they do exist.
There's been, since all the legislation happened and so forth, there's been some advances in technology on this front. And I remember back in drafting the bill in the commission, there were some ambiguities, some questions about what kind of stem cell research would be funded through this fund or financed through it. And I wonder if the committee will be in charge of deciding or figuring out if adult stem cell research will be used, or embryonic stem cell research will be used, or if this new, fangled we've kind of read about will be used, or who decides that in essence? Isn't specified in the
I will let the Lieutenant Governor grapple with anything that requires technical knowledge.
There's no prohibition on any stem cell research in terms of cord blood or adult stem cell or embryonic stem cell. There is a line at which ethics intervenes that there be nothing resembling or even attempting to even suggest any type of human cloning or anything like that. Very consistent with what was our position when we were candidates last year, now governing this year. And so really the charge of that ethics committee will be to review all the applications and even the protocols of research to make sure that we stay within the ambit of that ethics.
Yeah, but this isn't actually an abstract question, because I think people in the pro-life community and the Catholic Church believe that certain kinds of research are cloning, and that most scientists believe they are not cloning.
I understand, and
who adjudicates that is my question. Is it that this committee?
This committee will resolve it. We have representatives from exactly the sources that you described on the committee, and the committee will arrive at a decision.
Governor, the discussion today, they're only going to do one bill. What can you do to end the gridlock that just seems to be getting worse now with this Bruno aircraft?
I think we are making progress. I believe today, I'm not sure it will be only one bill. There may be a little bit of movement on some other bills that have some time sensitivity. I'm not positive there may be. I think moving the congestion pricing bill today obviously had a certain imperative that was driven by the application, the joint state-city application to the Federal Department of Transportation for the funding to begin modeling and studying congestion pricing. There are a number of other bills, areas such as the campaign finance agreement that I announced and Senator Bruno announced and Shelley Silver and other leaders announced last week, issues of capital, senior property tax cut, where we've had very good discussions. There's an agreement on WICs. I believe all of these bills will move. You know, I know that we talk as though session ends. There was June 21, and now we're here on I guess July. What's today's date? 26th. 26th. July 26th. There's a long time left this year, and I know that all the members of the legislature are committed public servants. They will be not only willing but eager to come back when there is productive work to be done. So I'm very encouraged that across the range of this set of issues, there will be much more done. There are those particular agreements, there are conceptual agreements in other areas. And so I think, you know, when you take a longer view and step back and look at the arc of this curve, the little bumps or maybe spikes and valleys may be taller or deeper at a particular moment, but the arc of the curve is such that we will get an awful lot done between now and a couple months from now and the end of the year.
But how can you negotiate with Joe Bruno when he says that he's interested in having the Senate investigate?
You know, look, there's a lot that is said, and I don't in any way intend to diminish what he says. It's not for me to do. We continue to work, and that is the job I've been sent here to do, and I'm doing it. And I'm dealing with Senator Bruno, and I'm dealing with other members of the Senate. I'm dealing with Joe, and look forward to it. We will get things done. Yeah.
On the phone.
Yeah.
Governor, do you regret anything that you've done as far as your relationship with Joe Bruno? Do you wish that you could go back and maybe make things more?
Josh, let me answer that question this way. I've learned many things over the 48 years I've been around, and sort of learned many things over the last 7 months as governor. One of the things I've learned is that not only are we all fallible, but pretending that you don't make mistakes is the worst, most egregious error you can make. Of course, we've all made mistakes, wish we would do some things differently along the path, and I'm not going to start delineating them for you here or not, because that gives you, because you already have enough to write about for tomorrow. But I'm sorry.
Yeah, just one would be good.
Of course, we all learn and we go back and we regroup, but I am absolutely certain that Joe and I will continue to have a good, productive relationship. And, you know, despite all the atmospherics that people like to talk about, look at what we've gotten done this year. From the workers' comp reform, and I'm glad Ken is here to share in that, to civil confinements, to a budget that redid our Medicaid system and fully funded education and got a False Claims Act to help control Medicaid, to a stem cell project that we're here to celebrate, because this is genuine, this is real. Look at all we've gotten done. To a congestion pricing bill today, to a reform of campaign finance bill, to ethics reform, to lobbying reform, to budget reform. You know, that's not a bad list. And so I think when you look at what the business of government has been over the last 7 months, you know, sometimes I think you guys should realize we do the rest of it just to distract you so we can actually get the job done. Because we're getting the work to getting the job done. And in that process, I've had colleagues. Those colleagues are Joe Bruno and Malcolm Smith and Shelley Silver and Jim Tedisco and all the other members of the legislature. They've been colleagues. And so we plan to get it done, and there is no better manifestation of that than what we're here to announce today, which is something that will go down as a marquee moment for the state of New York.
Can Rich,
following this report, have you told your staff that you will now have a zero tolerance policy towards them engaging in politics and these types of conspiracies, which was the final of the report which you say you accept?
Well, when did you stop beating your wife? I'm not going to accept the predicate to the question, but I think the people in my office know that I have always had a zero tolerance policy for anything that crosses an ethical boundary, and that is how I have acted, that is how I will continue to act.
But have you told them that in the wake of the report?
I had a meeting with the senior staff of this administration last Monday morning. I mentioned this to you later Monday morning when I saw all of you, in which I made that point and many others. And so I am absolutely certain that the ethical footing of this administration is on firmer ground than it ever has been, and will continue to be. And but again, the business of today is stem cell research. That is the stuff people will look back at a year from now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now, and say something important happened. And that is why I'm proud to be here.
Governor,
Thank you guys so much.